Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update. And nothing huge in this one. This is just sort of a collection of a lot of smaller pieces of news that I haven't covered in the video, just putting them together here. So yeah, first, as you can see here, a slight update to the Avatar by Schwartz products, where we do have some more finalized shots of the packaging. So you can see the Trial Deck Plus has the full image of what it's going to look like added in. Unfortunately, there's no information, like they haven't shown off cards yet. So outside of us getting, I suppose, confirmation here that the Aang card that they showed us off, but they didn't show us what the effect was, is actually the cover card for this. And then the Blue Spirit and Aang card is also going to be in the trial deck. I'm guessing that might be like the other holo card that you get. So either way, that is the idea there with the trial deck. And I think this is exactly what they're always going to go for. They were always going to go for that sort of kind of navy blue color scheme with the sort of tan stuff that we often see on stuff these days. Big use of this Aang image. It makes complete sense. There's nothing crazy going on here. It's nice, it works, and there's not too much else to say about that. As a lot of people have noted, a lot of the newer Avatar stuff is using the Avatar The Last Airbender logo with the text changed to the symbols, which I think is probably an improvement for the better. But beyond that, there's nothing to say. It would be interesting if they showed us the back, where we at least get the name of the cards, but unfortunately not. We also get a look at what the booster box is going to look like, and also a brief kind of half look at the packs. So you can see there it's the same stuff, same kind of color scheme. The packs are all, of course, going to have Aang on it. There's no different kind of pack designs or anything like that. Bushi Road logo up here. It'll be interesting to see what this text here says up in this corner of the pack, but I assume it's just some sort of Avatar tagline. It actually, is it just this? No, probably not. But, you know, there's that. And then I don't think they've actually added anything to this. We already had the image for the supply set, so obviously we're getting a Cabbage Merchant deck box, Cabbage Merchant card sleeves, and 5 booster packs. And again, the booster packs are just going to be these packs, 5 of these. So maybe they'll update that just to include those images. And then there's also a special promo pack with a promo card as well. And then there's the final thing on this is just that I did finally manage to pre-order my stuff. So I have a bit of this on the way for when the launch happens on June 16th. Hopefully it arrives on time and it isn't too delayed or anything like that. And we'll see what I have to do to kind of collect as much of it as I plan to collect. As for, I suppose, when are we going to get a look at the cards? Obviously, we're still a few months away. We're still 4 months away from the release of this. I feel we probably won't really start to build up to Avatar kind of spoiler cycle until probably about 2 months before release. If even that. We'll just taking a brief look at, I suppose, their other lineup of stuff. What are they going through? Because they have, you can see they have stuff in May. They have a June set as well, just before Avatar. SAO, I think, is the set before this. That's a pretty big one for them. And this stuff is what they're kind of currently spoiling, which again, about 2 months before release. I think they just put up their first sort of teaser stuff about some of the SAO stuff. So, you know, we're slowly getting there. As they get through SAO, they've got only 2-3 more sets to go before they're on to properly talking about Avatar. The only other thing is just that this is something interesting to note about the sort of images that are being used. On a lot of sites, including distributor stuff, this image is officially being used to kind of represent the Avatar White Schwartz stuff. And my guess is, and we've seen that this different versions of this image used all over the place, my guess is that these 5 images of these characters will be represented on cards. We'll see this Katara, this Aang, this Toph, this Zuko, this Sokka. And I wouldn't be surprised, because they're quite nice images and they even have the symbols in the background. I wouldn't be surprised if these are maybe some of the rares or even double rares, and maybe giving a hint as to what way these cards will look in their kind of really high rarity versions, where I wouldn't be surprised if, for instance, we saw the symbol be the hot stamp type thing on some of the rarer cards. But these are nice images of the characters, and I think they'd look good as the double rares. Obviously, we'll get the more full art. These are just little kind of like box images, but it just shows you the type of imagery that we're using. So far, again, everything on the cards has been promo art. We haven't seen a single screenshot from the show card. Will be interesting to see overall how much of that stuff they do and how much of it they don't do. One small thing, and this is just, Diamond Select Toy. So we're waiting for them to reveal, are you doing more figures? What's going on here? What about those gallery dioramas? Are you doing more? So the question is asked once again. Someone has all three. I also have all three. My request, is there any way you can make a Toph statue? She's my favorite character, and unfortunately everyone that I see doesn't do her justice. And they give the answer, more gallery dioramas are in the works. Now, I believe this is the 4th time they have answered this question with basically just the general confirmation something is happening. They have not said anything beyond this. They haven't confirmed characters. This is a very specific Toph-focused question, so maybe you can read a little bit into that as like, it feels very logical that Toph would be the next one, but where are they? It's been ages since the last one. Like, did we go I think we went the entirety of 2022 without hearing anything, because I believe one of the first teases of more was like the end of 2021. So they need to get on this. And again, I think most action figure stuff, it's kind of weird that there's been no announcements for this year. And obviously we're waiting for Korra's stuff, but also Avatar stuff. I don't really know what's going on. But they need to do this. Now, hopefully if they have another maybe 3 in the works, we're looking at maybe a Toph, Sokka, Suki, Iroh, Azula, Mei Tai Li. They're probably like your key characters who you eventually need to get around to. And that sort of order might be what you're talking about. Azula in there, obviously. But there's that. The only other thing to talk about is just Avatar Generations. I'll bring this up in terms of like, when's the game actually going to get an update? Because I think a lot of people have been somewhat surprised now that the game's been out and they're getting towards the end of the content in the game. They still haven't added any extra like areas. We haven't progressed the story since launch. And in the couple of weeks before launch that I had the game, they also didn't add anything else in. So Omashu has been said to be coming soon for a while. There seemed to be, in the latest update, them actually removing the coming soon thing, but it's still not in the game yet. Now, they're sort of talking, if you're on the Discord, you can find out what some of the developers are actually saying about the game in terms of, like, apparently the Omashu update probably is more like a couple of weeks away. They have teased that there is some sort of a roadmap for the game coming. And everyone's very, very excited for that, because that's the thing. People want to be positive about the game, but it does have some problems. Some of the economy stuff about sort of cost of things, how many items you get as rewards, some of those numbers need to be fixed to make the game a little bit more fair, I think. And then the other thing is just purely content. The fact that the game is launched with not even up to episode 5 of ATLA in terms of content, I think is a little bit of a problem. Now, I get it. Why in the first couple of weeks after launch they have not added in new content. They've even said it, I think, themselves on the Discord. Their focus for those first couple of weeks with the mass launch is, of course, fixing bugs, making sure that the game is stable and functional out to everyone, basically. And I think that is the right thing to do, is to sort out that stuff, fix all the kind of bugs with the mass launch, and then work on adding content to the game. But because you have started here with, 3-4 weeks where you haven't added anything else in apart from the kind of event banner type stuff, there is a sort of growing demand for like, and what's the cadence going to be like for this? Because, okay, we finally get the Omashu update. We're all going to be immediately asking, when's episode 6 coming? Episode 7, episode 8, 9, 10, 11... and a lot of these are episodes that aren't super important. So, like, there's not a ton necessarily to do in these ones. Like, obviously, I suppose, like, when they finally add in, like, the Northern Water Tribe at the end of Book 1, that's going to be a huge update, because you expect there to be quite a bit going on there. Versus, say, like, the Great Divide, where you sort of wonder, like, how much of a focus in the game is that stuff going to get? Like, are we going to get the Ganjin and the two tribes leaders? Are we going to get those two characters in the game? How much are we doing with this? That's going to be interesting. So a roadmap is important, and then we get to this, which is kind of a response to me. It's not a direct response to me, but this is a response to someone who basically posted in response to something I posted, which was basically, I also think a roadmap is needed. The contrast between all the press releases mentioning the multiple eras of like Roku, Kyoshi and stuff like that, and then the game not even having 5 episodes, that needs to be sorted out. Someone said yes, that I agree. And so I guess one of the, community managers, is it the developer, I'm not sure, responded and said, well, the good news is that you won't have to wait too long to play with avatars from other timelines. It's a top priority for us and we're working hard to make it happen. It's in the name of the game after all. So far, just based on that, like first, 2 sentences there, you're kind of like, okay, cool. So like it's coming relatively soon. I don't take that to be next couple of weeks, but I take that to be like, it's coming imminently sooner rather than later. And so it's like, okay, everything is good. It's a priority. They mentioned the name of the game and the fact that it feels weird when you don't have other stuff from other generations in it just yet. It's a top priority from them. You won't have to wait too long. And then, while things can change in game development, our current plan is to make it available within this year. And it's like, what? The sudden like jump there from wait too long to play to sometime this year. It's like, I get that includes more recent, like coming soon times as well. But when you extend it to be the full year, I get that as a very cautious estimate of like, they can't fully confirm stuff that is potentially like, say, 2 months away or something like that. What if it does get delayed and it's more like 4 months away? But to suggest that potentially like a delay might happen to cause this thing that is apparently, not too long away to be like missing the year, that's a huge jump. And suddenly this somewhat interesting communication suddenly turns into like very little. And I get it. It seems like they are suffering from the sort of Paramount, Viacom, Nickelodeon, Avatar Studios red tape. That they are basically not allowed to say anything. Pretty much everything they say publicly about the game kind of has to go through Viacom at some point. Paramount, I suppose, more accurately. And that is preventing them currently from just full-on releasing what their kind of plans are. Because I suppose as developers, they would like to actually tell us quite a bit about what the plan is, but because everything has to go through Viacom, they can't fully say that. Now, again, this is where the problem comes in of just like, people just want to know an idea about, say, like, okay, Omashu's coming in a couple of weeks as the first true addition to the game. How long after Omashu is it going to take to add in Imprisoned Episode 6? Like, are you just doing a big update that actually adds in a couple of locations? Is that the way it's going to be done in sort of like batches where we get like 2-3 episodes plus some of your kind of new content? Or is it literally one episode, one location at a time? Because that's where suddenly the pace of this game is going to be very weird. Because I don't think there's any way they can make it work where they do all of Avatar and then, only then, do they step into the Kyoshi content, the core content. I think they do have to probably start it where they do have these stories going and just highlighting that here are the different era stories, and then I suppose in the more activity stuff, not in the adventure mode, that's where you're really, really heavily mixing and matching your generations in terms of your boss battle teams and stuff like that. But communication definitely needs to be better on this sort of things, and so they've teased the idea that a roadmap at some point is coming. I'm not really sure what way that's going to work with regards to like, are they going to release the Omashu update and then be like, and this is the cadence of release going forward? Because I don't think it is enough to just have a couple of summon banners for the next like couple of months. They need to start adding this stuff in, because again, it's that rather extreme point of we only have 4 episodes in the game. And I get it, there's a couple of other locations, but there's not that much to those extra locations. In the sense that, Razor Reef is literally just one node. And Shenguan has a little bit more to it, but it's also with probably two of the less interesting new characters you have going on. So that extra stuff doesn't add as much else as you actually think, and focus should definitely be placed on getting these pieces of content into the game as soon as possible. So that's, I think, pretty much everything we have to focus on. Obviously, beyond this, we are just waiting for other stuff to get announced, like Yang Chen Book 2. Is that going to get announced in the next couple of weeks for a summer release? We hope so. We are waiting for any news about Netflix Avatar. It's getting comical at this point, as if like it's getting so late. It almost feels like in the game that like without any true update, that it feels like are they just gonna release this and hope it works? Like they'll market it eventually, but it's beginning to feel like each potential opportunity to do something with it goes by, and it's just the clock is ticking. It's an adaptation of Avatar. Why are you being so secretive about this? I don't understand. And it doesn't help with the overall Avatar kind of general franchise thing, where it just feels like, yeah, communication across the board is quite bad on a lot of things. Which actually brings up the idea that the other thing, I completely forgot this almost. The whole Avatar Echoes and Aftershocks title that I covered in, I think, my last news update video. Now, obviously in that video, I didn't make that big of a deal out of that. I didn't even put it in the title or the thumbnail. And it obviously took off a little bit from there, and people were making very big deals about it. And that, yeah, you have to assume it relates to the title of the movie in some way. I think most people agree it's probably a placeholder title. But interestingly, the person on their LinkedIn edited it. They changed it to like Avatar Untitled and removed a mention of Echoes and Aftershocks. Now, obviously, this is one of those things where that draws more attention to it, that it was like an important piece of information that was taken down, rather than if they just left it up and let people talk about it, it would eventually fade away, because it's not that interesting of a piece of information just on its own without any context behind it. But now, adding on to the fact that like, oh, and then they removed it after people found it, makes people go, oh, maybe it is the actual title. What's going on there? But it certainly doesn't help the communication system on the Avatar Studio side of things, that we are still having to scavenge for scraps online to in any way keep updated on this thing that in 10 days it will be exactly 2 years since we found out about Avatar Studios. And for the most part, it still feels like Avatar Studios barely like exists, is real, and there's only so many more times Mike and Brian can come on the Braving the Elements podcast and be like, guys, it takes time, just be patient. You've already been patient, but be more patient. And it's like, yeah, we get it. We're patient for the final product, but, you know, can you start communicating as like a company, basically, as a franchise to your fans who have been here all this time? I get it. There's maybe not a lot you can say about that, but Avatar's more than just the movie you're talking about. More on everything is needed. Can we finally get that going is the kind of big problem. So there are my thoughts on all the news that we've had recently. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.